Hey guys, this is Illusion Podfics, and we're back with Chapter 3 of Spider-Man Reborn by Reborn. So, without wasting any time, Chapter 3. Peter's lost count of the days after having nothing to go off of. His days were the same, consistently. He's managed to raise his head by now, which resulted in a celebratory head pat from Dick, along with a lot of praise from everybody else. His goal is to crawl, so this progress felt decent in the long run. Once he can crawl, maybe Peter can hide from Dick under the couch. Maybe he can start walking shortly after. He couldn't do anything at this age, and it irked him the longer he was useless. His oldest brother was terrifyingly affectionate. Peter loves it, really. He just was never the recipient of it. That has always been a Peter thing. He was always showering his friends with affection, scaring Mr. Stark with words and casual touches. He never was the one to receive it. Even his aunt and uncle were casual with their love. He loves the free affection and hugs, but it is a startling contrast to everyone else. Jason generally reaches to him and occasionally poking him or shaking his hand around. His dad usually just holds him, kissing his head before nap time when he's there. Alfred held him plenty of times, patting his head or running his fingers through Peter's hair. His mom was affectionate. She held him and would sing, kissing his cheeks and forehead often. Selena reminded him of Aunt May with that. The affection was similar and so warm. But Dick was the mother hen to the extreme. Peter would barely make a grunt and his face would hover over him, asking what was wrong and calling Alfred to check on him. Peter wondered if Dick thought he'd die if left alone for 2 seconds. Dick, Wonder Boy, sit down. His mom laughed at Dick, who was once again fretting over Peter. Yes, listen to her. I'm fine. But he made a sound. What if he hurt himself? I'd cry, you worrywart. Peter will cry if he's hurt. He's a month old now, so sounds are normal. Just wait until he's learning to talk. Selena moved to join the boys on the floor. Peter's arm flapped from his side. Peter tried again, raising his head a little. Somehow, the little action felt insanely difficult. His head weighed way more than he was expecting. His mom cooed, praising him for the little action, while Dick startled with an energetic whoop. Look at him! He'll be running around soon enough. Aw, good job, Petey. Dick crowed, only going quiet when Selena swatted him. You'll scare him. His face sort of scares me. Dick, his dad's voice called from the hall, or door. Peter couldn't see since the couch was unfairly tall, and he was trapped on the square blanket. His eyesight was a little better, but the field was still smaller than before. He really couldn't wait to be able to walk. I'll be back, Boysar. Dick tapped his cheek before standing. Peter could only watch his brother stand like a giant. From this angle, Dick reminded him of Ant-Man. He must be pretty tall. Or Peter was again too small to understand perception at all. He turned to the rattle his mom shook in front of him. Soon, he'll be able to save people again. He just had to relearn basic motor skills first. Can't be that hard. He's finally lifted his big head. Crawling is next. Do that again, Peter, Jason grinned, dropping from the couch to see better. Peter gurgled, his arms waving in a gesture to ward off his older brother. He smiled on accident. It's not bad, just something he forgot he could do. Or rather, forgot he had to relearn. After everything with Mysterio, smiling was rare. MJ and Aunt May were able to draw them out of him, but they always felt a little strained. After Aunt May died, there wasn't a reason to smile anymore. Apparently, smiling is a reflex for babies. Peter stared at the phone held in front of him, Jason smiling a little too much behind it. Come on, Pete. Dick'll hate that he missed this. He's being used to taunt Dick now. He wasn't all that opposed to the idea after a moment of thought. Peter tried for another smile, eliciting a more gentle one from his brother. I want to know what he says. I bet he'll try to rush home after seeing it. He'll see it later. Doesn't matter though, since you're smiling now. You gotta do that in front of me. Bet he'll cry. Somehow, I can see that. Bruce was fairly reserved. Peter had seen him smile a lot around him, but his dad didn't have any smile lines like most people. Clearly, the guy didn't smile much before. Peter had seen the man cry once, though. One night, his dad had crept into his room to hold him. Peter was a little pissed at being woken up, but the look on his face stopped him from screaming his frustration. He recognized the look, hollow and sad simultaneously. Something went wrong that night. A victim he was too late to save. Peter tried to get his attention, but without being able to say words, he really only managed to short, "Ah!" His dad cried when Peter patted his cheek. The only thing he could do, as annoying as it was to only have a single communicative action, Peter relied on it to try and reassure him. He fell asleep eventually in the arms of his father. Peter wouldn't be surprised if his dad did cry over a smile. If his mom was around, he was sure she'd find every reason to tease him for it after the fact. For now, Peter just got comfortable in Jason's arms as they left to find Bruce. Earlier, Jason had come home excited from school, usually correlating to longer patrols, which Peter could sympathize with. He looked forward to the weekend when he didn't have to rush home early for sleep or homework. It seemed that here, his dad was stricter. Jason was often the first home when Peter would manage to be awake at the time. His brother probably was sent home early during the night because of school. Something Peter internally knew would happen to him when he was old enough to make an argument about patrol. Usually, Bruce worked from home on Fridays, giving him more time with both Peter and Jason before heading out. This meant that his dad was most likely in his office upstairs, so Peter waited for Jason to get there, curious to even see the office since he has never been brought there before. Once he learns to crawl, Peter was going everywhere. "Hey, old man," Jason chirped, bounding into the office with Peter clinging to him. Peter tried to turn, seeing his dad behind a large desk. His chin rested on his fist, eyes looking over the monitor to see them. Peter beamed, smiling a gummy smile towards his dad. He may not be Richard, but Peter has always had very little memory of the man himself. Calling Bruce his dad felt natural. Maybe it was the baby brain, but he didn't mind it so much. Peter has a chance to change his fate, to reverse Parker luck when he's no longer a Parker in the first place. "Chum," his dad greeted Jason, moving from around the desk. Peter smiled as the man approached, a small tick of his lip, the biggest sign the man was moved by the display. "Peter, you're smiling, huh?" Peter was easily lifted into his father's arms, large hands holding him close. Jason grinned from below, the height difference more noticeable from up here. "He started to smile when I was working on math," Jason explained, leaning back into the arm of the couch. Peter barely made it out. He was sure it was green, but the shape was annoyingly vague. Colors, too, were slow to come in. "That's great. Thank you for bringing him to me." His dad shifted Peter, a hand disappearing from him to ruffle Jason's hair. The boy squawked before ducking out of range. Peter clung to his dad as the man's chest bounced from his chuckles. Smiling wasn't so bad in the end. He can fix things here, before it's too late. He'll be enough this time, to save them. Peter's grown a habit of laughing at Dick. After laughing once when Dick tripped down the stairs, he found it easier to do so again. It probably helped that Dick made it too easy. His oldest brother was always doing flips or cracking jokes. Peter laughed when Dick landed a jump, and he laughed when Dick tripped up on the landing. Jason picked up on it and slid a foot in the way on occasion before being chased away by Dick. His dad would sit in the lawn chair or couch, watching with a smile. His mom would sit with him, relaxed and at peace. Laughing didn't seem so bad when he was safe at home the new family around him. Peter relaxed into it, cuddling with his dad or his brothers every day, sleeping on his mom's chest. He hoped that he wouldn't lose them again. "Please, take it away," Dick groaned from the couch. Peter's rattle in hand, he shook it again. The rattling sound was entertaining, but Dick's hangover was way more fun. Tony usually stayed alone in his labs when suffering hangovers too big for lab time. Peter was always chatty, and he would sometimes forget to talk quieter. He didn't mind it much, but Pepper always encouraged him to talk louder. Punishment for drinking too much when he should have known better. The rattle was Dick's punishment. Peter was pretty sure his brother wasn't technically old enough to drink, even if he moved out already. Still, Dick spent his weekends at the manor to spend time with Peter and Jason when he wasn't busy. So, Peter felt that this was perfectly acceptable. He shook the rattle again, laughing at the curses coming from above. His dad had taken Jason out for something. His mom was also busy today, so Alfred and Dick were left alone to watch Peter. Meaning, Dick couldn't leave even if he wanted to. Should have waited a few more years, bud. Thor had once slipped some Asgardian mead to Peter. The hangover had been brutal. It was made worse by the lecture Mr. Stark gave him, being a minor and drinking and all that. Peter knew he was young, but he'd been a vigilante long enough and felt old enough to have earned the drink. He could sympathize with Dick, but that doesn't mean he'll cut the guy slack. Peter's 3 months old now. He should have expected some trouble. Petey, Boysar, please, I'll buy you anything you want. Piggyback rides for the rest of your life. Just please put the rattle down, Dick begged, falling to the floor with a thump. He still couldn't crawl, so Peter dropped the rattle at his side, squealing at the final rattle it made before silence took over. Dick moaned into the carpet, thanking him. Hopefully, he'll remember this deal in the future. He could get so many burgers with Dick paying. Peter misses Spider-Man. Flying through the air, crawling up the side of buildings or along the walls inside. He especially misses sitting on the ceiling. He couldn't do that now, but maybe he doesn't need to. Dick. His dad's voice cut over Peter's babbling. Peter twisted to see his dad. Dick lifted him back into his arms as blood fled from his head. That isn't safe. Peter likes it. Look at him, Dick defended as Peter tried to push himself off Dick. His oldest brother had returned after weeks of being gone, and Peter was having fun. It finally snowed, and apparently everyone decided the outdoors were too cold for him. It wasn't like he could play out there, but entertainment was hard to come by when everyone was busy. Dick held onto his sides as he let Peter fall. Peter waved his arms under his head. The lightheaded feeling returned as he laughed, hands clapping. He still couldn't talk, but it was easier now to communicate with them. Peter watched his dad's legs walk towards them, a soft grunt being the only response from him. "All right, chum. Just not too long." Bruce finally talked, a hand running through Peter's hair before he left. Peter can now sit. He can finally sit now. It isn't crawling, but this has to be the first step towards it. It sucked at first. He almost fell over before Jason caught him, but now he can finally sit up as long as he leaned on something, or had his hands to hold him upright. Currently, Peter sat on his mom's lap while Jason did his homework by the window. Music was playing, and Peter actually recognized it. The AC/DC song came through Jason's phone quietly, and he tried to sing along. Well, he babbled the lyrics. Either way, his mom was impressed, so he took the win. His mom stopped wearing too much makeup in the house since Peter liked prodding her face, if only because it made this all real. After so many naps, realizations were cementing into place. He was really here. He really is Peter, and he has a new family. Sometimes touching their faces was a good way to remember. They're real and they're here. So Peter would trace her jaw, poke her nose, and push her cheeks while staring at the smile. It was so filled with love and adoration. Peter was almost scared to look at her eyes, afraid they'll be dead and hollow, afraid that he'll lose her too soon. "Welcome back, Bruce." Selena smiled, her head turning from Peter. Peter only squealed, arms going over his head for a moment. Selena. His dad needed to learn to talk more than Peter did sometimes. Peter was lifted into the man's arms easily. He immediately went to touch his dad's face. The 5 o'clock shadow made his jaw feel extra scratchy. Peter ignored their conversation, focusing instead on tracing his dad's face. Did Richard have a similar face? Peter had seen himself in the mirror a few times, and he didn't look too different. His hair was darker than before, and he had brown eyes like his grandma. He only knew that because his mom said they remind her of her mother's. He accidentally managed to get his hand in his dad's mouth, cutting the man off from whatever he was saying. "Oops." "Hello to you too, chum," his dad chuckled, removing the hand with a smile. Peter smiled back, smacking his dad's ear in return. Soon he'll walk. Soon, soon, soon. Alright guys, and that is the end of Chapter 3 of Spider-Man Reborn by Kuririn. I'll see you in the next chapter.